We try to keep the events on the event calendar free or really low cost. So they're the things that are happening at restaurants or stores. Banter Bookstore, they have a story time twice a week. Sometimes it's an author event. Those kind of things I always include. Anything, a fair or a festival, even if there might be an admission price, we still will put those on there.
Coming to you straight from Fremont, California, this is the Fremont Podcast, dedicated to telling the stories of the past and present of the people and places of the city of Fremont, one conversation at a time.
Hello, Fremont. This is Jamaica. You are listening to an episode of 85 of the Fremont Podcast.
Now, here's your host, Ricky B.
So, Jennifer Hill, you are in charge of Macaroni Kid for Fremont.
Yes.
And Newark.
Fremont edition covers Fremont covers Fremont, Newark, Union City. But I'm also the publisher for Hayward, which is also
Castro
Valley.
That's right. Somebody's calling. So you said you were the publisher for
Hayward also, which covers Hayward and Castro Valley, and I'm also the publisher for Palo Alto, which is basically the Lower Peninsula.
So Macaroni Kid, I mean, for people who people don't know, who haven't found it yet, Macaroni Kid is a kind of a website. I guess how would you describe it? It's a website where you can find events specifically geared toward children.
We're a free community resource for parents. People assume it's for kids since of the name, but we are a site that's hyper-local with our event calendar, and then we also have articles, recipes, crafts, parenting articles, guides with local where to stay cool. We're going to need that this weekend.
Yeah.
Where to stay cool in the Bay Area, so splash pads and water slides, places like swimming pools, etc.
That sounds like a lot of work. Like, I just think sourcing all those things. I'm sure there's some repeated things that are helpful that you just know to expect it each year. But like, how do you get all the articles, the locations, the events? Like, how do you get all those things for what you do? Macaroni
Kid is a national company, and you pay a hosting fee basically to use their site and their tech team, and we have shared articles, so we have shared content that we can use. I love to write, so a lot of the articles that are shared come from me as well as other publishers. Things like my guides, so my Staying Cool guide, May or so, I pull that up from last year and I go and check every single link because some people change their business links. City Recs will change their link to their pool.
Right.
And I confirm opening dates, times. During COVID, that was hard because so much changed fluidly.
Yeah.
But it makes it easier once you've been doing it so long.
Okay. So what are the different roles that you have for, like, what does it mean to be like in charge of Fremont, but then a publisher of these other areas?
I am the person who puts in the work and does everything on each of the sites. So
okay.
Each is its own site, and we're hyper local. So if you go to the event calendar for any of those three sites, you're going to find 99% of those events are going to be happening in the territories it covers, which for Fremont's Fremont, Newark, and Union City.
Yeah.
They're like the fair would be on my calendar, even though it's not happening in Fremont, Newark, or Union City,
Right.
but it's something big enough people would drive for.
So Macaroni Kid has been around how long? Like the website or the
15 years, almost
okay.
16 years as a whole.
And you've been working with them for 13 years.
Yes.
Okay. Wow.
Yes.
So what was your role or what was your job before you started working for Macaroni Kid?
I was a childcare provider, a preschool teacher in my home for over 20 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that was right here in Fremont?
Right here in my home.
Right where we're at right now? That's
Right
awesome.
here.
That's cool. Very good.
And now some of my kids have graduated college, a few in college still.
Wow, that's awesome. And so then what made you shift from being a child care provider in your home to doing Macaroni Kid then?
We had two more children, babies within 15 months of each other, and our third and fourth kids were 13 and 15. So as my kids at childcare had aged out or moved out of the area, I didn't replace them because our kids grew up too fast.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be there more for them. And we were at the place in our lives that I could. And then Macaroni Kid fell in my lap.
That's cool.
And
You saw it on an ad?
It was an article in Red Book magazine.
Okay.
And from there, I called up, I reached out, and the person who was doing it and had been doing it for a short time had just had a baby and decided she was too busy with her new baby. So I took it with my 2 babies. And I think I still had 2 childcare kids at that point.
We were just talking, I think, just before we started recording, we started talking a little bit about the interaction that I had with you without knowing who you were and what Macaroni Kid was entirely. And I found Macaroni Kid and submitted a few of our events that I was involved with to Macaroni Kid. And it seemed to be pretty, 2 things that I discovered. It seemed to be pretty easy. It wasn't difficult to do. It was free, which was great. But then also it actually produced a lot of results. Like I actually think as I look back at the metrics, when I looked to see where the registrations came from, there was a lot that came from Macaroni Kids. So I think for anybody that's doing kids events, it seems like what you're doing would be a no-brainer for them to use. So there's something interesting that I was thinking about as I was preparing for this conversation. We've done a little bit of we talk to a lot of people in the community, and we ask them about Fremont, like what they think about Fremont and all that. And 2 things come to my mind. One is from some of the conversations we've had, many of them I would say. One is that there's not a lot to do in Fremont. That's a comment that I get a lot. But then the second thing that I also get that kind of pairs with that is Fremont seems to be heavily family oriented. And so with what you do as far as like Macaroni Kids, and you said it's actually primarily for parents because even though it has kids in the name, I'm just curious, what are some of the things that you find that maybe people are overlooking in our community that they don't know happens? And obviously with all your research and everything you're doing to create opportunities for, or at least exposure for opportunities. And what are some of the things that people might be overlooking, families might be overlooking in the community that they just, could do, but they're not doing because they don't know about it?
The sheer number of parks and playgrounds we have in Fremont, Newark, and Union City is insane. We have a ton, whether they're small neighborhood parks. They just opened a brand new Dusterberry Boulevard, brand new. It's a neighborhood park, so there won't be a bathroom. Plan for that. Yeah. But there's so many parks.
Yeah, I was there for
the park.
Yeah, I was there for the grand opening of the park and did a little video reel for that on our Instagram. But the that was pretty awesome. There was a lot of people there at the park. And they had said specifically that it's the 64th park in Fremont.
And that's Fremont alone.
That's Fremont alone. That's not including Union City, Newark, and the whole Tri-City area.
Yes. So. And on my site, I have a parks and playground guide for Fremont, Newark, Union City, divided by city. And I did a bunch when my kids were younger, reviewed the parks, and then I pulled together the guide, and I had some that I didn't have pictures for or hadn't been to, and I rounded up some of my subscriber moms that are very supportive, and I offered them. I was lucky back then. We had a lot of Disney on Ice and Monster Jam tickets I could bless them with in exchange for doing some reviews for me, and so I was able to fill up the guide. I think there's a few that I still need pictures for that. It's kind of hard with a 13 and almost 15-year-old to get them to willingly go visit random parks.
That's awesome. So I guess that brings up a question too. Like, you were mentioning there's articles that are available because it's a national site that you were able to use. Do you use local, local help in order to be able to populate what you're doing? And if so, how do people, how can people help you? How can they be involved in that?
Absolutely. I actually have one mom in my Palo Alto area that sends me things now and then, whether it's, she did, breweries, local breweries.
Okay. For kids
that are family friendly.
Oh, okay.
So
very nice.
That have games for kids to play or an outside area or on the beach.
Yeah. That's
so
awesome.
So obviously that's not a totally local guide. It's a Bay Area type thing, but I get in my car and drive. I don't just stay 15 minutes from home every time I leave the house.
Yeah.
So she's done several things like that for me. I always have put it out there. Anybody wants to reach out, and we can work together, because it benefits them too to be a part of the community and sharing. And it's kind of fun to see your work out there.
That's awesome.
Being shared.
Yeah, for sure. So if I were to look at our Fremont community, what's going on right now this summer and going into the fall that people should be aware of, or that are coming up that would be helpful for people to know about?
That's a tricky one.
Yeah.
You'd have to look at my calendar.
Yeah, there you go.
Things like the water park.
Yeah.
The
Aqua
Adventure is only open through the summer, and then a few more weekends after that. Okay. And it's a fun. Yeah. It's not huge like Raging Waters. You're not going to lose your kids.
Yeah.
And
do you work in cooperation with the the city, or do you have to work really hard to chase down all their stuff?
I have to chase down their stuff.
Yeah.
But we work together. I get on some things. I get an email with I'm subscribed to their emails, so I get those to read too. But things like sharing, they shared their photos and flyer for the Dusterberry Park for me to do the article. Otherwise, I'd go take pictures through a chain link fence. And and they were part of hosting the event with the park opening. Yeah. So it was nice to be able to share that in an article to help get people there too, and to be aware. And in the local moms groups on Facebook, everybody kept asking, when is this opening? When are the gates coming down? Or the fence?
Yeah.
When can we take our kids?
Yeah.
So
that's great.
We'll be right back. You can hear the rest of this conversation in just a moment.
I want to tell you about Milk and Honey Cafe. They're a family-owned restaurant located on Fremont Boulevard in North Fremont. They serve fresh noodles, stir-fries, bentos, soup, vegetarian dishes, boba drinks, and so much more. And for Fremont podcast listeners, if you make a purchase of $50 or more, you get a complimentary Thai tea or a fruit tea with your purchase. You can find out how to dine in or order at milkandhoneyfremont.com. For more information and links, be sure to check out our show notes. If you want to hear more of their story, check out episode 8 on the Fremont podcast. Looking for a real estate agent who's professional, courteous, and always available? Look no further than Jennifer Petroselli at Petroselli Homes Realty Group. A satisfied client says she made the buying process a fun and enjoyable experience, and was always there to answer questions and provide information. If you're buying or selling a home, Jennifer is the agent to trust.
And now, back to our conversation.
How long have you lived in Fremont?
I've lived in Fremont my whole life, except for a couple of years when I was almost married.
Okay.
I was in Newark, so same thing.
That's a long way away.
Yes.
Very good. And give me one of your favorite experiences of living in Fremont growing up.
My favorite thing, and it's probably only based simply on me and myself, is my kids went to all 3 of the same schools I went to.
Okay. Oh, that's cool.
Same elementary school, same junior high, same high school.
Wow.
My husband, they went to the same junior high and high school as he did.
Okay. Wow.
So that to me is kind of cool.
What's the biggest thing that you feel has changed in Fremont since you grew up here?
People are too busy.
Too busy. Okay.
Too busy. They don't take the time to slow down, and you experience that when you're in the stores and
that's cool.
Elsewhere.
That's a really good observation. I think you're right. I didn't grow up here, but I think that our way of life these days kind of demands it in some sense, and people don't stop to think differently, I guess.
Well, you kind of have to with cost of living, et cetera, but it's very... When I was a kid, most of my friends' parents, there was always a stay-at-home mom, and that's rare these days, which then you limit your time because when can you fit this other stuff in?
What are some of the things that you've learned about Fremont yourself, even though you've grown up here your whole life? What are some of the things that, since you started this job and working to try to provide information and resources for parents, what are some of the things that you've learned about Fremont that have been helpful and insightful for you in all your research? Anything particular, or did you know it all?
One thing I was always very surprising was that how many schools we have. How many elementary schools? I can't even remember off the top of my head, but it's a very large number.
Wow, yeah.
And we've several years, and COVID kind of stopped me on some of the things I was doing regularly. We were doing a yearly give back to the teachers. We were doing a cool school contest, and so people would vote for their favorite school, and then the winning school we've done a couple different places where they've gotten lunch from Texas Roadhouse, or there was a Super Suppers was a local business that provided lunch one time, dessert and drinks from Chick-fil-A included, $500 prize from a realtor donated to reward one school. I just wish we could do that for all, but in the community we're in, there's so many schools.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah.
Do you engage with the schools as well? I mean, is there stuff that you try to hunt down from what they're doing?
It's hard because I know for some schools their resources are so small. So if I were to put that they're having their trunk or treat event, they'd have so many people show up that their students would miss out on some of it, or they'd be too crowded for the smaller school.
That's interesting.
And because I am for profit, even though I'm a totally free resource, I have paid for by my sponsors, the schools won't put a flyer in there about Macaroni Kid, even though it's free and going to keep those kids busy and out of trouble and parents finding things to do. So there's a few PTAs that will push stuff for me, or not wrong word push, but share stuff for me.
Yeah.
Or share stuff with me.
Yeah. Try to help me understand the difference between something that someone might submit for free, like an event or something coming up, and then your sponsorship. Where do the sponsorships come from? Were those local as well, and what does that look like?
We try to keep the events on the event calendar free or really low cost. So they're the things that are happening at restaurants or stores, or like Chick-fil-A does bingo night and a story time and a craft every month at each of their locations. Banter Bookstore, they have a story time twice a week. Sometimes it's an author event, so the author is there to meet and greet and read the story to them. Those kind of things I always include. Anything, a fair or a festival, even if there might be an admission price, we still will put those on there. But at the same time, we can run articles for them, and that would typically be something that sponsor would pay for.
Okay.
And there's ads. We have ads on the site. On the side, we do sponsored email blasts now and then, not too often. We don't sell our subscriber base list, and everybody on there is self-subscribed.
Okay.
They might have entered for a giveaway and then they're subscribed, or they sign up because they want to. And we send out a weekly newsletter every single Monday evening for Fremont.
So I'm a parent. I have a 10-year-old and I have a 1-year-old, and what is the best way that you would encourage me to take advantage of the site, Macaroni Kid?
Make sure you're subscribed.
Okay.
People say, well, I can check the website. You can, but you may not remember. And that means every Monday evening you're going to get a reminder, or Tuesday when you sit down at work, you're going to get a reminder that, the email's out. And then we have top picks for the events that are coming up. The latest articles, which possibly will include a recipe. Usually things that are easy to do or kids will like. The ones that the recipes I write or provide are all things that my kids will happily eat, and most kids. So that's the best way, because then you can click through the newsletter and visit the site. You can also visit the site. We used to have an app. It was very short-lived because it was just as easy to go to the site. So I always say save a shortcut on your phone to the website, and it's like an app. Now you're where you need to be.
There you go. Yeah. That's cool. Do you have a presence on social media as well too, like Facebook and Instagram or anything like that?
Either Mac Kid Fremont or Macaroni Kid Fremont, depending on which. We're Instagram and Facebook. It's really hard to keep up with those. I mean, I do the best I can, but it's hard to.
Oh yeah.
Constant.
I do the same thing. Like for the podcast here, I'm trying to keep up on social media, and there's some stuff that works really well, but then it's just you get kind of overwhelmed with trying to stay up to date. For us, I mean, our episodes go out every Friday, so that's kind of like a benchmark each day or each week that I keep in mind that I need to take care of. But it is, social media can be a lot of work.
And then it's hard when you don't get interaction.
Right.
And not that you want everybody to be, oh, hi, blah, blah, blah. But it is nice to even just get a like or a share when it's something that they know their friends and family would like to. And then the weirdest things are what they were really into. So it's not the stuff you'd expect them to.
Yeah. What would you like to see happen? Like, what are some of the exciting things that you imagine happening when you're creating all this stuff or curating all this stuff? Like, what is it that you would like to see happen that you are contributing to our community?
For me, I hope that the event calendar helps our local businesses get their customers in, even when they're not my sponsor. You know, how long we went without a bookstore. And now we have
That's
an
right.
actual bookstore.
Yeah. Well, this is cool. I'm excited that I got to meet you and we get to share some of what you're doing here with our community. I think, like I've said, I've taken advantage of your resources both as a host of an event for kids, as well as just looking at seeing what else is out there that I can be involved with. I know that my wife is also looking for things all the time. And I actually just hopped on Macaroni Kid this morning just to kind of like, browse through it to see what it was like. And it's very helpful. There's so many great resources on there.
There's a trip for Walt Disney World right now being given away. It's like an $8,600 prize.
Well,
Family
there you
of
go.
4, flight from anywhere.
Wow.
And there's, I think, 3 or 4 night stay on a resort property.
So what do they have to do? What does somebody have to do to
click on that? And then I think there's the main entry, and then there's, follow this, do that, and you'll get some bonus entries. That one ends at the end of the month. That one is actually provided from our national company. And they, as a publisher, I work local. I can only work with local businesses. They have to be locally owned to work with them on my site. Something that somebody might reach out to me and they're more national, or even if they're just regional, but they have, 8 locations, et cetera, they become something that they would work with national.
Awesome.
So then that trickles down to us because they do campaigns and stuff with them. But we also have tickets for Cirque Italia right now, which is actually not happening here. It's in Antioch this year.
Okay.
But we're giving away tickets to that. I think it ends on Friday next week.
That's awesome. You have opportunities to
win prizes.
Yeah, win prizes. That's cool.
Do
Very,
fun
very
stuff.
good.
We did when COVID hit, there was nothing happening for kids. Nothing. I mean, even our private swim club had to close when it was stated. They opened and then they stated that it was now a gym.
Yeah. Wow.
So what could we do? Here comes Halloween, and normally that's one of our busiest times. There's no trunk or treats. There's people were saying they weren't even going to have trick or treating at their door.
Right.
So we did boo baskets. So I had sponsors chip in. They paid money to be a part of it, to be with their logo and on their article, etc. And then they also all contributed something to put in 100 baskets. And then my family, the first year, I think we did them all. You had to be local, Fremont, Newark, Union City, and we delivered to 100 households that had kids that had signed up. And we had, I think, 600 families sign up, and we just did random draw and did 100. And then the following year, we did Christmas that year also and did holiday baskets. But I think I only did that once or twice because it's hard between Thanksgiving and Christmas to fit extra stuff in.
Yeah.
So, but we've done the boo baskets every year since then. And now I have a great group of moms that say, I'll take all of your Newark ones. And I hand her the map out list, thanks to awesome internet things.
Yeah.
And all the addresses. And she picks up all the baskets, and her kids get to go boo these families with these surprise Halloween goodies and just make people happy when it was so hard to have anything that was fun and out of the norm.
That's cool. That's really cool. I think did you have an article, or have you had an article about like the different houses that are all decorated like with lights for Christmas, like all the different ones around our community that you could go see.
I do a holiday lights guide, and that's another one that's really hard because I have to confirm that they're up for the year.
Right.
And I have a few families that will reach out to me to confirm they're going to be open on such and such date. Others, I have to, and then I have readers that will say, and I leave them in there and I say, not confirmed.
Right.
And they'll email me, we went and saw that.
And it is up.
So we start with Fremont, Newark, Union City. And then I also try to include some of the further lying that are worth going to if you're going to be in Livermore anyway, if we have time to get to those on.
Yeah, that's cool. Are there any other holiday, like you were talking about Halloween and then the Christmas season? Is there any other holidays that are big things for
Easter
to point out, like egg hunts, I guess?
Easter, and we're not as big as some areas. Some areas are huge. That every single church is doing an egg hunt or something. But I do an Easter guide, and they usually happen over about 2 weeks of time. They're not all Easter weekend, which makes it nice. People can go to more than one thing. 4th of July, we do any of the fireworks. Or other things. And again, we don't have firework display in Fremont, Newark Union City.
Sure.
Not even
Yeah.
legal to do fireworks in
Right.
Fremont.
Right.
But we had a pancake breakfast with the
Right.
firefighters
Yep.
and the parade. So I include everything.
That's great.
And that's another one. They click every link each year to confirm all the details.
That's
but
great.
it's worth it because it's
That's what we have.
the memories. It's the childhood memories
It
that
is.
you're making, those
It
core
is.
memories.
Yeah, I think in some sense, we don't have the fireworks, which I love to see. But I think that their kids don't necessarily know that, but the things that they do experience are the things that they're going to remember. They're not going to remember the things they didn't know they missed out.
Yes, I actually Googled it this year. I think it was 1984 that Fremont stopped
Oh, wow.
fireworks.
Wow. I've had a lot of people tell me, the people who have lived here since then or before then, that told me that Fremont had one of the best displays of fireworks in the area out over Lake Elizabeth, and it would have been awesome to see.
It was okay to then not have them at your house, doing them with your kids,
Right,
because you
'cause you
could
could just
go
go and see
close by
Yeah,
and watch
yeah.
them. You don't have to go down
Yeah.
to Great America or to an A's game
Right.
during the summer. And
Yeah.
we often do that. We go
Yeah.
to a baseball game so we can see the fireworks. San Jose Giants does them too.
Okay. Very cool. Well, Jennifer, thank you so much for your time. This was really cool, and I'm going to be taking advantage of your resources a lot
Thanks.
more.
Great.
And we'll put all the information that we can get from your website or the social media or wherever on our on the show notes, so people can just click on those links. And thank you for joining me today. I appreciate
Excellent.
it. Yeah.
Thanks for the time.
This episode was hosted and produced by Ricky B. I'm Gary Williams. Andrew Cavett is the editor. Rachel Prey is the print editor in charge of our newsletter. Scheduling and pre-interviews by Sarah S. Additional reporting by Mark Emmons. Music provided by Soundstripe.com. You can find everything we make, the podcast, our newsletter, and all of our social media links at thefremontpodcast.com. Be sure to subscribe wherever it is that you listen, and if you would, please leave a review on iTunes. Your reviews help other people find this podcast. Join us next week on the Fremont Podcast.
You waited around until after the credits. You might like bonus content. You should sign up for our newsletter. It's free. Do you remember last week when we spoke to the director and the producer and the lead actor of the film Fremont? Not only do we have bonus content from that episode, we have an entire other episode from that episode.
So you said your sister and you were journalists in Kabul?
Yes, my sister, she was journalist for 8 years.
Okay.
Like more than 8 years. But I started in 2019 when I graduated from high school.
Okay.
I worked for 3 years with different television in Afghanistan, and after Taliban took the control, I came to the United States, and I was evacuated by the Biden administration.
Wow.
In August 2021.
You can hear that bonus episode by signing up for the newsletter at thefremontpodcast.com. Scroll down, the sign-up's at the bottom of the page.
This is a Muggins Media podcast.